Okay, how to build your own just-in-time learning system. I'm going to share with you exactly how to do this. I'm going to share it with you right now. Um, when you sit down and think about, learning and education, typically people think of traditional higher education, getting a degree. That's just in case learning. What we're going to talk about is just in time learning. So you don't need another degree, you need a system. And I'm going to give you a simple system for just in time learning. And it comes down to 5 basic steps, because the fastest way you're going to grow your career and your business and your income is the fact that you don't need to learn everything. You need to learn the right things at the right time for the right situation. So let me show you how to build your just-in-time learning system in 5 simple steps. Step 1, define your trigger. What's the problem, the challenge, the opportunity right in front of you? That's your cue to learn. Okay? Step 2, find reliable sources fast. You don't need 20 sources. Go straight to the 2 to 3 best sources you have. It could be books, YouTube, AI tools, mentors, or micro courses. There's no rabbit holes, there's no endless searching. Just go to where you can get the information that you need and get to it. Number 3, apply it immediately. That's right, use it today. If you don't apply what you learn, you're going to forget it. I guarantee you. Implementation is the real classroom, because that's when you learn what the problems are. That's when you learn what works and what doesn't work. Step 4, reflect and adjust. Ask yourself what worked, what didn't work, what could I make better the next time? You want to think in terms of not just this time, but the next time. And that's how you're going to turn the information into a skill, is when you sit back, reflect, and adjust. Number 5, step 5 in this process, document it. Capture what you learned. In project management, we call it key learnings. Whether it be in a Notion page, a journal, or a playbook, that's when you build your personal knowledge library that you can reuse anytime. I use playbooks, success playbooks, all the time that I create. When I have something that works, I document it and I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I use it the next time. This isn't theory, it's an operating system for success. If you follow this system, you're never going to feel behind. So just because you're learning exactly what you need, when you need it, and when the stakes are the highest, it's a lot different than what you learned in college, again, which was just in case learning. So that's how the pros stay relevant. That's how leaders adapt. And that's how you can win. So I'm George Sloan with Myford University. If you want to learn fast and apply it faster, just in time education. This is a concept I've been kicking around, and I'm going to share it with you, kind of as a preview, because I think it's going to be next week's concept. But I'm gonna share it with you a little in advance, so you kind of get the thought process behind it. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan from Myford University. Um, I'm always looking for ways to hack when it comes to self-improvement and education. And one of the things I think about a lot, because I think that in many ways I do this. I'm going to call it just-in-time education. If you're familiar with just-in-time manufacturing, you'll get an idea where I'm going with this. But let me backtrack and give that detail to you. Just-in-time manufacturing basically is a concept that says don't have massive inventories of parts, materials, and such. Set things up and have your system and process so aligned that what you do is the parts and materials to manufacture your product arrive at the factory simultaneously. You don't have a warehouse full of things. The parts that you sub out and get from someone show up the same day that you're going to be installing them, possibly in the same hour. So as the assembly line is going and moving along, the parts are coming in and they're going right into the vehicles, for example, if we're going to do a car situation. So my thought is, what if we turn this around a little bit and we called what I'm about to suggest just-in-time education? What does this mean? Well, you're out in the real world and you're a problem solver. I'm a project manager. I work and solve problems all the time. I do a lot of planning. I try to avoid having problems but I do have to be ready for them. I have to have contingency plans. But let's talk about this concept of just-in-time education. If you're going to work on something that you're not as familiar with, you might want to get up to speed. And the way you would do that is, hey, a new project has come along, and I am looking at a situation where I have to build out a solution and I don't have enough information. Now, typically I will turn to subject matter experts, or SMEs, or SMEs as for short, as we call them. Um, but a lot of times when I know that I'm going to be dealing with something and I'm not as fresh on it, or I need a refresh on it, I will go and get a quick education. I will do some Google searching. I will watch some videos. I will do some chat GPT. I will turn and look to, books. I will get myself up to speed very, very quickly so that I have the base knowledge and can ask intelligent questions almost immediately. Uh, and I've done this all along. The funny thing is, I typically use a lot of pieces from different models and frameworks, and I put them in combinations that fit my situation. But say, for example, I'm working on something, and hey, um, I haven't really done anything with electrical lately, just as an example. Well, I might do a quick refresh. Or if there's some kind of new technology coming out, I'm always open to looking at new things, even down to software programs. I will actually go and get myself up to speed on something just in time for me to use it in a particular project or situation. I am confronted with a particular problem. Hey, what are my possible solutions? I have a few possible solutions for this, but let me go and just check and get a quick education. Maybe things have changed. Maybe there's something new that I don't know about yet. And I will go and get up to speed on what the latest and greatest is. And I might find that, hey, I had three possible solutions, but there's a new one that's even better than one of them. And I'll include that in my solution set. And then I will obviously make my recommendation as to which one I would recommend. But again, going back to my 1-3-1 model, one problem, three possible solutions, and one recommendation based on the best information available at hand. So, getting back to this concept of just in time education, it's a way to get what you need as you need it and solve problems as you need it. The other thing is, if you're like me, I do a lot of iteration. I will actually go and I will look at things from the perspective of, okay, it worked, but could it work even better? Or it didn't quite work. Can I tweak it and make it work? Or, hey, it didn't quite work and maybe there's a better way. And what I will do in my iterations is I will sometimes look at the new information and data and feedback and go and do a little research. And in my research, I may come across something. Again, just in time, dealing with problems as they come. So here's the thing: you don't need to know everything about everything, but you should know how to get a quick update, upload, upskill at the critical moments when you need it. And you should be able to ask the right questions, and you should be able to know where to turn to get good information. Again, subject matter experts are invaluable. They are very attuned and in line with their particular area of expertise, and you want to draw upon them. But you should have a basic knowledge and understanding that you can sit there and go, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Subject matter expert, tell me, I've heard that this is the newest and latest and greatest. Can you give me a little information? Can you enlighten me? Can you expand my knowledge on that? Again, you want to be up to speed enough with just-in-time education to make sure that you're able to ask those intelligent questions and then be able to garner some good insights from folks. The other thing is, sometimes you kind of learn backwards, and I think the whole idea of this just-in-time approach might make more sense. Listen, when you're starting a business, you need to learn the basics to at least put the systems and processes in place. So you probably want to learn, a little bit about how this type of business functions and what some of the basics are that you have to have in terms of, getting research on customers, finding the customers, converting the customers, and then building out from there and building out your back end in terms of customer support and fulfillment. So you sometimes folks will worry too much about the back end when they should be worrying more about the front end, or vice versa. So you want to make sure that you're learning what you need to know to get things up off the ground. As you build the foundations of the business, once you get past a certain level, then it's time to go to the next level. And that might mean that you need to get some additional knowledge and skills and look into some things that you hadn't had to consider before because you weren't there yet. The life cycle of the business didn't require it back then, but now you do. So these are some of the questions, approaches, and ways that you might want to think about. And as I say, I think my approach of just-in-time education makes a lot of sense. So real quick, to give you an idea of where you might find this kind of stuff, like I say, I will go to Google and do some searches. I will then go and look at some videos on YouTube, for example. I will then go beyond that and maybe do some chat GPT. I will refer to books. I will sometimes take a little mini course. I will sometimes do a mini certification. Sometimes I'll go and take a larger course, and other times I'll go and get a full-blown certification. Uh, the the number of resources out there that are available to you are numerous, a lot more now than they were in the past. The problem is sometimes a little bit of noise, but there is a process to kind of weed through these things and get the basic knowledge and education that you need to deal with the problem at hand. And if you know that you're going to be working on a particular project in the future, what I will sometimes do is preemptively go and start boning up on a particular knowledge set that I might need to know about. If I'm going to be dealing with something that involves, I don't know, a project that might be impacted by weather, I might go and do a little research and education on what the impacts are. What I might get some historical data on what the weather patterns might have been, and I will also look into, say, for example, we're dealing with concrete. There's certain temperatures that you need in order to do concrete, get a good pour, and have it work. You might want to look into asphalt, for example. That has impacts. So I will then go and dig into it a little bit. Again, not that I'm going to be the expert on it, but I'm going to know enough to ask the questions of the expert on it, because I did a little just-in-time education so that when it came time to handle that particular project or problem, I had an idea of where to go. The other thing, I'm always looking and trying to understand what the future is going to look like, what's going to be cutting edge. Say we're talking about, how digitization is going to impact, say, facilities management or a particular, area of project management. If we're talking pure construction, if we're talking, I also do projects where I work in doing, digital and IT. I will go and look into some of that. Again, I am going to look for a guy or a gal that knows, digital more and better than I do, but I still need to have a basic foundation, and I will get that through what I call just-in-time education. So if you're looking to stay cutting edge, if you're looking to stay relevant, and if you're looking to be effective at getting real-world results and solving problems, I highly recommend you look into the idea of just-in-time education. You don't need it, years in advance per se. What you do need it is, a few weeks or a few months in advance, or as you're actually solving the problem. Again, I'm going to build out a full-blown concept on this next week, but I figured, I'd share it and give you a sneak peek into where I'm headed with this, and I'll create a more structured framework for it. This is more the general concept right now, and I'll structure it in a more digestible format. But if you're interested in these kinds of concepts and this kind of approach and this kind of thinking, please visit myforduniversity.com, where you will learn it fast and you will apply it even faster. Why you should learn a just-in-time learning approach, not just in case. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan, Myford University. Everyone talks about lifelong learning, but let's be honest. Most people are learning just in case. Just in case they might need that degree. Just in case that topic comes up. Just in case it looks good on LinkedIn. These are all just in case scenarios, but the world is changing too fast for that. And if your knowledge is not immediately useful, it's already obsolete. So what do you need instead? This is why you want to consider using just-in-time learning, not just in case learning. So in manufacturing, you might be familiar with Toyota had invented just-in-time production, Make what you need the moment you need it, no waste, no excess. And now I'm applying that same approach to the idea of education. When you need to learn exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, and solving problems today, here and now, with no waste, no fluff, no filler, hit those goals and get those results immediately. This is the approach that I'm advocating, and it's how most modern professionals will stay relevant. And here's the other thing. I'll give you a basic, simple framework of how it works. It's not that complicated. Step one, you want to define your trigger. What's the problem you need to solve? That's your learning topic. Then, step two, source your knowledge and information fast. Find the 2 to 3 best resources: YouTube, short course, ChatGPT, a mentor, not 20, and get to it. Step three, apply it immediately. If you don't use it today, you're going to forget it tomorrow. It's a given. It's just the way it works. It's how it happens. Step number four, reflect and iterate. What worked? What didn't? What can I do better next time? What was it that I need to do in order to get the positive outcome or result that I want? Step number five, document it. Turn what you learned into a playbook or a system that you can use in the future. I do this all the time. It's as simple as that, folks. It's fast, it's focused, it's functional, and if you're, not studying for a test, you're actually learning for a result. Better approach. So, traditional education wants you to memorize. Just-in-time learning wants you to move and get results. It's not about getting degrees, it's about getting deliverables. And the best thing in today's world, the winners are the ones who know the most, or not the ones who know the most. It's the ones who can learn the fastest and apply it immediately. Stop learning just in case and start learning just in time. If you want to learn fast and apply it faster, visit myforduniversity.com. Here's why traditional higher education is the opposite of just-in-time learning. Traditional higher education is backwards. It tries to front load you with knowledge and information that may be outdated and not even useful for some point in the future. It makes you sit there and load you up with information and knowledge, load you up with debt, but you have no real world experience and the ability to apply it in the real world. And you may find yourself at the short end of the stick on that one. So it's kind of like stocking a warehouse with product that may never be sold. It's very slow, it's expensive, it's wasteful. And there is a better way, and I call it just-in-time learning. And it works like this. If you're familiar with Toyota and just-in-time manufacturing, I kind of built it right off of this approach. What they did with just-in-time production manufacturing was they built what they needed when they needed it and only when they needed it, not having a warehouse and inventory. There was no excess, no waste, no storage, no nothing. It can be applied to education, and that's what I've done here. So instead of learning just in case, which is what traditional higher education does, you might want to do something a little bit different. And you can learn just-in-time learning from the perspective of, hey, the problem appears, the opportunity shows up, and now the next level is required of you, and you go and you get the knowledge and skills real quick to do that. That's when the knowledge actually matters, and that's when it actually sticks, when you apply it. So traditional education will force you to prepare for a future that changes every 6 months. You sit in lectures, you memorize things, and 6 months after you graduate, you probably forget 90% of it, and you may not even use the other 10%, right? So meanwhile, the people who are winning in today's world, they're not doing that. They're learning on demand. And what do I mean by that? They're going and taking courses. They're going to YouTube. They're going to books. They're going to online accelerators. They're using mentors, and they're even using ChatGPT to get themselves up to speed to solve the problem at hand. And that's when learning really matters, when it really matters, right? So turning your knowledge into, cash flow, promotions, or even freedom, it can all be done, because in the real world, nobody cares what you know, they only care what you can do. So here's the truth. Traditional higher education fills your head, just-in-time learning can fill your wallet. Stop chasing the credentials, start chasing credibility and a demonstrated approach. When the challenges show up, you learn. When the opportunity comes, you apply. And then when the results finally come, you document it and scale it at some point in the future. Build a success playbook. I do it all the time. That's how you stay relevant, and that's how you win. If you're interested in this approach and you want to learn more, visit myforduniversity.com. I have a full article on this and a video on YouTube about it. Hope to see you there. Thank you.